Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our first biannual Spell-a-thon live stream. We appreciate all of the registrants, donors, parents, and everyone who has made this event possible as well as successful. We have a great event planned for everyone with some really amazing guests, and we can't wait to get started. Before we begin, I want to share a message from our founder, Julie Spence, who unfortunately couldn't be with us live today, but she wanted to share with everyone how excited she is for our first Spell-a-thon, how proud she is of everyone who participated, and how grateful she is to everyone who donated. Thank you. So, what is a Spell-a-thon? For those who don't know, a Spell-a-thon is a week-long challenge to learn to spell new words. Participants pledge to spell a certain number of new words, and then they gather sponsors and donors. Think of it like a walk-a-thon, but instead of pledging to walk 2 kilometers, you pledge to spell 50 words. At the end of the week, we have this exciting live stream event to celebrate and thank all of our participants for their hard work and dedication to literacy and learning. To kick off our event, we have a wonderful speaker, Dr. Danny Brissell. Our speaker today hails from Los Angeles, California. For the past 2 decades, Dr. Danny Brissell has served as an educational advisor to students ranging from preschoolers to rocket scientists. While he has held numerous titles and worked with leaders from a variety of fields and disciplines, Danny has always considered himself first and foremost a teacher. His mission is to bring joy back into education and the workplace. Danny's simple but powerful student engagement strategies have been heralded by parents and educators worldwide. Affectionately known as Jim Carrey with a PhD, Danny helps audiences learn to transform reluctant and struggling learners into passionate, lifelong learners. Danny is a recognized authority on leadership development, reading, motivation, and communication skills. Last year alone, before the pandemic, he spoke to over 100 different audiences worldwide in education, business, and government. His 16 best-selling books include Read, Lead, and Succeed. As a thank you for attending his talk today, he is providing all attendees a complimentary e-copy of the book, as well as 2 digital trainings for parents. Most importantly, he is a loving husband and proud father of 3 children. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Danny Brissell.
Thanks so much, Carly, and hopefully the technology is going to work right now. We always wonder about that, so I'll try and share my screen. I think it's sharing. And so today, everybody, we're going to talk about becoming a reading hero. Carly, can you just tell me, is everybody able to see my screen? I can't hear you, Carly, so hopefully that's a yes. All right, so we're going to call this Becoming a Reading Hero, and I'd really like to thank Carly, the National Spelling Bee of Canada, and all of you for attending today. I really appreciate it. So first of all, I want to find out how all of you are today. So we're going to play a game. How many of you are sleepy? Raise your hand. How many of you are wide awake? Raise your hand. How many of you are feeling grumpy today? Raise your hand. How many of you are feeling happy today? Raise your hand. How many of you want to laugh? Raise your hand. And how many of you want to get pumped up about reading today? Raise your hand. So I always like to get to know everybody, so find out a little bit about you. So everybody stare at your lovely reflection in the screen right now and repeat after me. I am thrilled to be here. I'm going to trust that you said that. Now repeat after me. I am looking sharp today. All right, everybody give yourselves a big hand. So no matter how old you are, you can be a reading hero. So now you're wondering, who is this guy? Well, I'm Dr. Danny Brissell. My last name, you're all spellers. My last name is really easy to remember how to spell. It's spelled like Bras Cell. No, I never took any grief over that as a child. I'm on a mission to bring joy back into education. I've actually taught all age levels, from preschoolers all the way up to rocket scientists. I can make that claim because I used to teach English as a second language to engineering students at the University of Southern California. But most importantly, and Carly shared it with you, I'm a proud papa. I have a lovely daughter named Kate. I have a handsome son named Sean, and I have a mischievous monster named Samantha. So I don't know a whole lot. I can tell you this right now. I don't know how to cook very well. I certainly don't know how to get a coffee at Tim Hortons without staying in line for about 20 minutes. But I do know how to get people to love reading. You know, I've never had to tell a kid go watch TV. I've never had to tell a kid go play a video game. And I never want to have to tell a kid to read a book. I want kids to choose to do it on their own. The way we do that are some of the things I'm going to share with you today, because I have a secret. I'm Bookman. All right, so by the end of this presentation, I want you to leave here feeling wide awake. I want you to feel refreshed by the end of this presentation. And finally, I want you strong enough and confident enough to tackle any challenges you think you may have as a speller or as a reader. So are you ready to get excited? Are you ready to get pumped? Are you ready to have fun? All right, so we're going to do some chants. I always start off my class doing chants. So everybody, we can do this together. This one, I usually hold hands in a circle and we go, this is the class. This is the class. Who wants to learn? Who wants to learn? And read more books and read more books and make a better tomorrow. All right, so now I'm going to teach you 2 words in Spanish. So you're going to have to shout these out. I'm not going to be able to hear you, but I'm going to trust that you're saying them. So the first word is sí. Everybody say sí. That means yes in Spanish. Now, the second word I'm going to share with you is libros. Everybody say libros. That means books in Spanish, all right? And so answer my question, my questions. ¿Quieres aprender? You go, sí. ¿Quieres aventura? Sí. ¿Quieres leer? Sí. ¿Qué tiene información? Libros. ¿Qué tiene imágenes hermosas? Libros. ¿Qué tiene cuentos? Libros. Oops. I screwed up my screen. All right. And then we go 2, 4, 6, 8. What do we appreciate? Reading, reading. Yeah. All right. Are you ready to have fun? Good, because we're going to have some fun today. So are you ready? Hang on. All right. So what does it take to be a reading hero? Well, I have 3 things I'm going to share with you today, beginning with number 1. First of all, you need a secret identity. Now, this handsome young fellow was me when I was a little kid, all full of mischief. And I wanted to share a story with you when I was a kid. My mom and I, we used to read this book before I went to bed that started out once upon a time, fairly straightforward, except I never saw the O, because the O was a weird shape. It was in a black box and it was covered in vines. And so my mom would say, okay, Danny, read to me. And I'd go, once upon a time. She's like, no, Danny, that word says once. Say once. I'm like, once. She's like, again. Once upon a time. She's like, no, Danny, that word says once. Say once, twice. I'm like, once, once. She's like, again. Once upon a time. She's like, you never learn anything. I'm going to put you in a special class. She always got me crying before I went to bed. Well, one day, a buddy of mine came over to my house to play. And for some reason, I took out this book. I guess I wanted to impress him with my reading skills. And I go, once upon a time. And he says, hey, nincompoop, you see that black box with the weird shape with the vines all around it? That's an O, silly. That word says once. I looked at it. Once upon a time. So here's the reason I'm sharing that with parents out there. Sometimes we try 38 strategies with our kids and we're ignoring one of the single greatest resources at our disposal. Other kids. I mean, kids and adults think differently. I've known this ever since I was in kindergarten. When I was in kindergarten, my teacher, Sister Rosanna, she asked us all if we wanted to go to heaven. And all of us raised our hands except for Hector. She's like, you don't want to go to heaven? He's like, oh, I thought you were talking about today. He's right. He's just looking at her question from a totally different point of view. That's right. I was a struggling and reluctant reader. It's my specialty now. I love working with struggling and reluctant readers. Can I give you all a tip? 4 out of 5 of them are going to be boys. Boys and girls are very different. Girls will read books about boys. Little boys have no interest in reading books about little girls. I mean, I was with a 3rd grade teacher and she said, Mario won't read anything. I'm like, oh, I'll get Mario reading within an hour. I was wrong. It only took me 20 minutes. And the book I handed Mario, he liked it so much, he memorized the first chapter by the next week. The book I handed Mario was called Just Disgusting by Andy Griffiths, not the Sheriff of Mayberry. This is an Australian author. He wrote The Day My Butt Went Psycho. And the beginning of Just Disgusting, the first chapter, is the 101 most disgusting things. I don't remember all of them, but I remember some. So it was like number 12, dog poop. Number 13, stepping in dog poop. Number 14, trying to wipe the dog poop off your shoe and getting on your fingers. Number 15, eating a hot dog that tastes like dog poop. Number 16, realizing the hot dog tastes like dog poop because you forgot to wash your hands. This is how you get boys excited about reading. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Little Women is a wonderful book, but if you want little boys to read it, you better put diarrhea in the title. You know, would you all like to know the secrets? Reading should always be fun. Human beings are pleasure-oriented creatures. I'll give you an example. My wife and I were finishing dinner one night. My wife's like, "You want some more green beans, honey?" I said, "Oh, honey, I am stuffed. Couldn't eat another bite." She said, "We got chocolate cake for dessert." I said, "Just a small slice." You always find room for things that you like. I know I'm with a good reading teacher when the bell rings and the kids don't jump out of their seats because they want to finish whatever it is that they're reading. That is a good reading teacher. You have to understand this, though. It's only reading when you choose to do it for yourself. Happiest day of my life, besides my wedding day, was when I got my PhD. I had a grin from ear to ear. My wife's like, "Why are you so happy?" I'm like, "Because from now on, I pick the books." And that's what reading is. Folks, the research is really clear on this. It doesn't matter what you read. What matters is how much you read. It doesn't matter if you're reading James Joyce or James and the Giant Peach. People who read more read better. All right. And you have to have lots of different reading materials. I mean, as a teacher, I always had lots of different books in my classroom. I had big books, I had little books, I had scratch and snip books, I had pop-up books. But some kids don't like books. So I have lots of magazines in your classroom. I have sports magazines and National Geographic and things like that. Hey, when I was a kid, the only thing I like to do was eat. You got a kid like that, give them a menu. They'll read that. Newspapers. I was a journalist before I was a teacher. I think newspapers are one of the most underutilized resources out there. I always taught in the inner city. Show me a McDonald's in the inner city that doesn't have 5 free newspaper stands out front. I used to teach my kids how to snag those newspapers, and now I have a way of impacting the home reading environment as well. Comic books. When I do corporate trainings, I always ask the executives in their suits, "What was your favorite book growing up?" 70% of the audience says Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Batman. Comic books count. Leapfrog makes me feel like an old guy. I wish the books talked when I was a kid. I think Leapfrog's awesome. Get multilingual books. I mean, kids love hearing books read in different languages. I used to work at a preschool in downtown Los Angeles that served homeless Latino kids. And one day we got this huge donation of books in Italian. Now, none of us could speak Italian, but I can decode Italian. So every day I used to read to the kids. Some of the kids, it was their favorite time of day. You know, get reference books. Every class I've ever taught, I have at least one boy who's an aspiring Cliff Clavin, likes to give me useless information. Now, "Mr. Vassell, the capital of Canada is Ottawa." Really? Thank you, Rogelio. Can you give me some more useless information tomorrow? You know, get that kid an almanac. There's a great episode of Friends where Joey wants to look intelligent, but he can't afford an entire set of encyclopedias, so he just buys the letter V. You know, give the kid an encyclopedia. It's a great way to get kids excited about reading. So one of the things I'm constantly doing is telling people that all of us are literate in different ways. I mean, can you read this? What does this mean? Stop. Good. Hopefully you got that. A lot of people fail to recognize that in Los Angeles, where I live. How about this? Yeah, it means good parking spot. I have 3 children. Before all of them could walk or talk, we have over 300 DVDs in my house, but every single one of my kids could find Finding Nemo. Didn't matter where I put it. They always wanted Finding Nemo. You know, children from the time they are in the womb can recognize this symbol. Stop the car! You know, so we're going to play a game. This game is called a word ladder. I've also heard people call them magic spells. You can call it peanut butter and jelly. Don't worry about the name of it. The way this game works is we're going to take a word, and by changing a couple letters at a time, we're going to transform that word into another word that relates to the original word. So everybody out there, what's the opposite of over? Hopefully you said under. Okay, now add 2 letters. What's something you hear after you see lightning? Okay, hopefully you said thunder. All right, drop 3 letters. What's the sound a sack of potatoes makes when it hits the floor? Thud, okay. Now change a letter. What's another name for a school bully? That's called a thug. Okay, now drop a letter. Kids, drop a letter. What's something you like to do with your mom and dad? Okay, hopefully you said hug and not tug. Okay, now change a letter. What's something you don't want to find in your motel room? Okay, that would be a bug. Okay, now change a letter. What's something you put your groceries in? Bag. Okay, change a letter. What's something they've been doing throughout the world to people in public places because of the pandemic? They've been banning us. Okay, now add a letter. What's another name for a group of musicians? And you got some great musicians going to be on today. That's a band. Okay, now change a letter. What's a box they used to let kids play in on the playground until they got impetigo? Okay, that's called sand. Okay, now add a letter. What's another way to say rise? That's stand, and that's what reading is. It's not reading unless you understand what you're reading. Oh, that's how a word ladder works, everybody. So everybody repeat after me. The most important thing that I can do to help me become a better reader and a better speller too is to remember the 3 R's. Read, read, read. You know, it's so easy. You know, there's a concept in science known as Occam's razor. It was developed by Sir William of Occam in the 13th century. Sir William discovered the best solution to most problems is usually the simplest. We've tried to overcomplicate way too many things in education. Get the kids excited about reading. The more excited you are to read, the more likely you are to read. The more you read, the better you get. All right. The second thing I want you to remember about becoming a reading hero. It takes practice. Just ask Mighty Mouse, you know? You got to see yourself as successful. And here's a big tip, and this is for the parents out there. You need to remember, minutes matter. I'm going to show you some data right now. I don't want kids to be bored, but this is really important. So Harvard did a study. By the way, whenever I cite research, I always say Harvard did the study. It sounds much more legitimate that way. So Harvard did a study. They looked at student test scores around the world, and they tried to find patterns. What were some common characteristics? They found one which startled them. It was the number of minutes spent reading outside of school. They looked at the low kids, the kids in the middle of the class, and the kids at the top of the class, and they found out something startling. The kids at the bottom of the class spend less than a minute a day reading outside of school. Well, that's not so surprising. That's probably why they're at the bottom of the class. But this did surprise researchers. The kids in the middle of the class, the 70th percentile, how much time did they spend reading outside of school? Just under 10 minutes a day. So when I'm doing a live training with parents, this is when the first parent usually raises their hand and they ask, wait a sec, are you saying if I can get my kid to read 10 minutes at home every single day, I can take them from the bottom of the class to the middle of the class, from an F to a C? That's exactly what I'm telling you. But this is even more startling. The kids at the top of the class, the 90th percentile, how much time do they spend reading a day? Is it 3 hours a day? No. Is it 1 hour a day? No. Just over 20 minutes a day. 20 minutes a day. That is my goal for you. Get the kids reading for 20 minutes a day outside of home. And they don't have to be reading themselves. You can be reading aloud to them. It doesn't have to be consecutive. It can be throughout the day. I'm going to give you a couple of tips. My friend and mentor, Jim Rohn, used to say, poor people have big TVs, rich people have big libraries. Now, here's some amazing statistics. These are third graders. This is American data, but I would guess that Canadians are a little bit better because Canadians are smarter than Americans, but probably not a whole lot. You watch just as much TV. So they found that the kids that didn't have a television in their bedroom actually scored higher than the kids that did have a television in their bedroom. Look at TV viewing. How much, if you spend an hour or less a day, they found that you're 40% more likely to graduate from college than kids that are watching TV 3 hours or more a day. These are test scores in America and American territories. It shows how the test scores relate to the number of hours viewing, and obviously the more you watch TV, the lower the scores every single time. Here's a very important number I want you all to remember: 87,600. 87,600 minutes. That's the average amount of minutes spent watching television per year for the average American child. I don't know what it is in Canada. I'm going to guess it's very similar. 87,600 minutes. That's the equivalent of 612 and a half. What's that mean? That means you could watch the movie The Avengers 612 and a half times is how much time kids are watching TV per year. So here's some other numbers. I just gave you 87,600. That's the number of minutes the average American child watches TV per year. 64,800. That's the number of minutes the average American child is in school. 10,950 minutes. That's the average amount of time Americans are on the toilet every single day, every year. 10,950 minutes a year. 7,300 minutes. If you could just get your kid to read 20 minutes a day outside of school, they would read for 7,300 minutes a year. I think we can find the time to do that. So let me give you a couple of quick tips. First one, parents, turn on the closed captioning on your television sets. Now, people always say, well, wait a sec. If the show's in English and the subtitles are in English, what good does that do? Well, that's a fair point. Let me make another point. How many of you have ever watched a TV show with subtitles and not looked at the subtitles? It's very difficult to do. Your eyes are geared towards that text. I got this idea. If you look at test scores around the world, the more you watch TV, what do you think happens to the reading score? Does it go up or does it go down? Always goes down. Every country in the world except for one. The country with the highest reading scores in the world watches the most TV in the world. It's Finland. How can that be? Well, Finland makes really bad TV shows. So they import all these old American shows like Brady Bunch and Gilligan's Island, and they have to subtitle them all. So the kids are watching the text all the time. Turn on the closed captioning. It's a very easy tip. Here's another one. Parents, put some books next to the toilet so when the kids are on the toilet, they have something to read. It's where some of the best reading can be taking place. And again, it doesn't have to just be books. It can be comic books, newspapers, whatever turns the kid on. Give them something to do. So how do we make reading fun? Well, Mighty Mouse, show us some ways. First off, I love teaching kids songs. You know, a strong effort will take you far. Raise your hand if you're lazy. By the way, those of you not raising your hands, you're very lazy. So people always ask me, why do I teach people so many songs? Well, it's a Harvard medical fact. The human brain has the ability to erase information. Let's see if you can complete any of these. A, B, C, D. I'm going to guess you know your alphabet song. How about this one? Mary had a... If you said Little Lamb, you know your nursery rhymes. How about this one, kids? Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? SpongeBob SquarePants. Yeah, you see? Jingles that you remember are the jingle, like someday you're going to have Alzheimer's disease. You're not going to remember the names of your own children, but you'll remember jingles you learned when you were 5 years old. Again, that's all they had to do to teach kids the alphabet. Just put it to the beat of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, all that kind of thing. Would you like some more? I knew you'd like it, so I'm always writing songs for my kids. So here's a way to teach the kids the continents. And so repeat after me. This one goes, there are seven continents, Europe, Asia, Africa, North and South America, Antarctica, Australia. Now, if you're working with first graders, you better set some ground rules, else you get little boys that like to be Mighty Morphin Power Rangers going, Europe, Asia, Africa. We're not punching each other. We're showing where they are on our map of the world. This next one got me in trouble because I did it to the beat of a Bible camp song. This is just to teach the kids the seasons of the year. It goes, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, winter, spring, summer, autumn and winter, winter, spring and summer. Autumn and winter are the seasons of the year. We can do it in Spanish too. It goes, primavera, verano, otoño y invierno. Which would you prefer? If there's teachers watching right now, I want you to consider that the next time you're working with English language learners. It's not easy thinking in a different language all the time. We need to have a little bit of support and empathy for those students. One of the things I've always admired about Canada is its emphasis on a dual language immersion program, which we can learn a thing or two down here in the States. Here's one final one. This is to teach the kids the parts of a plant. It goes, you should always do the gestures. Gestures help you remember the lyrics. This one goes, flower, leaf, stem, Roots, there it is. All right, give yourselves a hand. I'm going to actually take a sip of my coffee. And people always ask me, hey, Danny, did you ever sing with your middle school and high school students? Can I tell you a secret? I actually sang more often with them. Why? Because it annoys them. Man, this is stupid, man. I hate this song, man. You wore that jacket yesterday, man. Middle schoolers always get personal. And the one day we don't sing, they're like, hey, when we singing, man? It's all hormones in middle school and high school. All right. So here's the question I get from a lot of people. What if I cannot sing very well? Well, then you should definitely sing. How do you ever expect to get anything out of life if you don't take risk? You know, I'm a horrible artist, so I draw in front of my students every single day. I'm a horrible singer, terrific dancer. So I sing and dance in front of my kids every single day. And inevitably on the first day of school, I'll misspell a word on the board and some annoying girl will be like, Mr. Bissell, you misspelled a word. I'm like, yeah, this is a game I'm gonna play all year long. Make sure you're paying attention. Which word was it? All right. You know, you gotta take risks. That being said, you gotta stare adversity in the face, but that being said, there are some people who really suffer from a horrible disease I call white person's disease. They have no rhythm whatsoever. They're trying to get the beat. So if that's your problem, we got to remove all those obstacles. So before we sing, why don't we start with chants? You know, what day's today? Saturday. What day's tomorrow? Sunday. What day was yesterday? Friday. Lame, but at least we're establishing a baseline of rhythm. So here, we'll do some chants. We'll do days of the week. So everybody repeat after me. Do the gestures. This one goes Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the days of the week. Ahora en español. You see, I teach a lot of kids that Spanish is their first language. I apologize. This is why I'm doing a lot of Spanish. So this one goes Domingo, lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves, viernes, sábado, los días de la semana. Okay, now we'll do gibberish. This one goes, all right, there you go, everybody. So one of my favorite weapons, and we got some poets on here today. I'm so excited you get to watch some poets. Poems, most underutilized resource out there. No matter what class I've ever taught, whether it's my little ones, my older ones, I read aloud at least 4 poems a day to my students. Think about that. Over the course of 180 school days, I've exposed my students to over 700 poems. I mean, when I taught, you know, I make all of my students memorize at least 20 poems. When I taught kindergarten, on Thursdays, my kindergartners became poems. It's a great way to differentiate instruction. So I'd have like Jose, one of my non-readers, he'd be like, hi, I'm the Sitter by Shel Silverstein. Mrs. McTwitter, the babysitter, I think she's a little bit crazy. She thinks a babysitter's supposed to sit upon the baby. Then I got Yesenia, one of my top students, like, hi, I'm Mark Antony from Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. Come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is often tear with their bones. So let it be with Caesar. He was my friend, loyal and just to me. But Brutus is an honorable man. 6-year-old girl memorized 50 lines from Julius Caesar. I think we underestimate kids every single day, folks, all right? There are very few shortcuts in life, but poems are the best shortcut I know to help any kid, especially you spellers out there. This is one of the best. I was a championship speller, you know, in 4th grade and 5th grade. I was a champion speller in Iowa, and then we moved to Colorado, and I was a champion speller in Colorado, and then the words got from dog and cat to like circumlocutions, so I stopped my spelling bees. But let's do some poems right now. We'll start with a nursery rhyme. So we go, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, and all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. I always like to do a tongue twister. I'm tough. These are tough for me. I stuttered when I was a child, so you're probably better at these than I am. I'm going to slow it down for me. So this goes, a fly and a flea flew up and a flew. Said the fly to the flea, what shall we do? Let's fly, said the flea. Let's flee, said the fly. So they fluttered and flew up a flaw in the flue. You know, I've always told kids you have the rest of your lives to be miserable. This year we're laughing. I like funny poems. I love Broad Baggert, Jack Perlutsky. My favorite, though, is Shel Silverstein. So let's read aloud My Beard by Shel. Goes, my beard grows down to my toes. I never wears no clothes. I wraps my hair around my bear and down the road I goes. You know, I taught predominantly Latino and African American students, and while I wanted all of my Latino students to learn English, I also expected all of my African American students to learn Spanish. And so I found this great book by Susan Middleton Elliott called Say Hola to Spanish, where she takes over 70 high frequency words and incorporates them into poems. Let's see if you can all figure out what these words mean in Spanish. So this goes, Spanish is fun, so give it a try. Hola is hello, adios is goodbye. A dog is a perro, a cat is a gato. You drink from a vaso and eat from a plato. Great way to get kids excited about reading. You got to make reading fun. You make it into a game. Are you pondering every move out there? I always have told my faculty, I'm looking for thermostats, not thermometers. What's the difference? Thermometers take the temperature. Thermostats set the temperature. What are you doing as a teacher to get your kids excited about the learning environment that you've created? Raise your hand if you've ever had one of those days. Raise your hand if you ever want to get pumped up. Raise your hand if you ever felt overwhelmed. Well, don't worry. You know, I want to provide everybody, and Carly said it in the introduction, but I really appreciate that you participated in this spell-a-thon this week. I mean, these are crazy times, folks, and we love your positive energy. And so just as a gift, I'm going to give all of you a complimentary copy of my book, Read, Lead, and Succeed. This is a book, I wrote it for a principal who didn't know how to engage his faculty. So I said, okay, I'll write you a book. So once a week, I give you a concept, an inspirational quote, an inspirational story, a book recommendation on a book you should read, but you're probably too lazy if you're an adult. So I also give you a children's picture book recommendation that demonstrates the exact same concept. You know, so now I have all these executives around the world leading their meetings with Dr. Seuss books and things like that. I'm also, for you parents out there, I'm going to give you a couple of digital trainings to get your kids excited about reading. You know, so again, you go to freereadingtraining.com as a site. You know, the question I always ask teachers and parents is, you know, I think schools do a decent job of teaching kids how to read, but what good is it teaching kids how to read if they never want to read? I teach kids why to read, you know, and so now that the global pandemic has caused millions of parents around the world to involuntarily homeschool their kids, I've created a program where in just a couple of months, every single day, I'm showing you ways to get your kids to read 20 minutes a day. And in just a couple of months, we've shown that the kids generally boost their reading scores by 2 to 3 grade levels. That's all fine and good. But what's important to me, what's near and dear to my heart, is that we get kids who love to read. They're not immediately going for the remote control. Often they're just picking up a book to read, you know, and that's what we want. And again, you spellers, that's the way you become a better speller, is by reading all the time. And so let me give you some word games too. These are things, you know, it's making me feel old, but I love still doing word games with kids. So word finds makes me feel like an old guy. When I was a teacher, I used to have to create these things from scratch. Now you can just create them for free on the internet. It's amazing. Concentration. Take me to any discount, like 99-cent store, Dollar Tree or something. For $1, I'll buy a stack of index cards. I can come up with 50 different concentration games, like match the English with the French, you know, match the sight word with the picture, match the antonym with the synonym, anything like that. Board games. You know, go to your local thrift store. You can probably buy 10 old board games for $10. Great way. You know, we don't have enough families sitting there and just talking all the time. Create experiences. You don't need the boob to create experiences. We've created an entire generation of what I call vidiots. They don't know what to do without a screen in front of their face. Get those oral language games out there again. Environmental print games. I've always worked in the inner city. A lot of my kids don't have lots of resources, and so I teach them how to create resources. And so here's a game, you know, we do it with a Cheerios box where we create a ticker tape, and the kids will just, you know, Beerios, Cheerios, Deerios, Feerios. You know, it's just a fun environmental print game. It doesn't take a lot, folks. You know, I always love playing games. So this game, all you have to do is you got to figure out the expression. Let's see if you can figure out the expression. You can type it in the chat if you want. What do you think that expression is? These are all compound words. If you said football, you would be correct. Type it in the chat. What do you think this one is? Type it in the chat right now. Let's see how quickly you can type. Kids, don't let your parents do it for you. You can do this. This one is peanuts. Very good. How about this one? See if you can get this one. Starfish, yeah. I mean, folks, there's basically three types of people out there. There's people that get it right away. Starfish! You know, there's the people sitting next to that person, they're like, fish. And then there's people who have no idea what's going on. Don't worry, we'll find a game you're good at eventually. This is our goal as teachers and parents. Every kid's different. You know, everybody has something that they're good at. It's my job always to figure out what that is and to create an entire approach just based on that strength. Let's see if you can figure out what this one is. I was looking for homework. If you said housework, that would also work because it's a house. All right, one more. I was looking for snowman, but if you said snowflake, the guy does kind of look like a flake, so that would work as well. All right, so wrapping up. Here's my third thing I want you to think about at how to become a reading hero. It's courage. It takes courage to become a reading hero. You know, in my studies of leaders around the world, I can tell you that not every reader is necessarily an effective leader, but I have never studied in the history of this planet an effective leader that's not also an avid reader. And I can tell you again, if you want to be a good speller, the easiest way to become a good speller is to read, read, read. Those words will stick in your head. It's the easiest strategy. You have to surround yourself with positives. Events like this, I mean, you got to keep away from the negative folks. There are people out there who just want to knock you down. I mean, it happens all the time. Stay away from those people. You know, can I give you a great tip? Turn off the TV news and read a funny children's book tonight. I can already tell you what's on the news. The world is coming to an end, and whoever your leader is doing a bad job. It's been the same news everywhere on the planet for the last 100 years. You know, read a funny children's book. You'll impress your friends. Yeah, I read a book cover to cover last night. Really? What was it about? It's about this little red hen, you know. Readers read all the time, and that's what we want you to do. The way you become a hero is you become a reader. And you always have to thank your teachers, kids out there, and your most important teachers are always your parents. So make sure to thank them for reading in front of you, reading with you, and reading to you every single day. We need to make reading the reward. Reward yourself with a really good book. There's nothing better to me than spending a really lazy Saturday behind a really good book. It'll make you live a lot longer. You know, my friend and mentor, Charlie Tremendous Jones, said, you're the same today as you will be in 5 years, except for two things: the people you meet and the books you read. So make sure, kids, surround yourself with really positive people and make sure to read really positive books. You know, look at your lovely reflection on the screen and repeat after me. You look like a reader to me. All right. And then say, you're my hero. Excellent. So there's 4 questions I've always asked my students. The first question is why? You know, why get out of bed? Why go to school? Why read a book? Why play a sport? Why be friends with that person? The answer to the first question is the second question. Why not? Why not get out of bed? You got to do something. Why not go to school? We know that people that get an education prosper much higher financially around the planet. You know, why not read a book? Like I told you before, readers are leaders. You know, why not play a sport? We know that people that are physically fit become more mentally fit. Why not be friends with that person? You know, I've always said, if you really want to have a lot of friends, the easiest way to do that is by being a friend to others. The third question is, why not you? Why not get up out of bed? Why not go to school? Why not read a book? Why not play a sport? Why not be friends with that person? You know, there's a lot of evil in the world right now. We need a lot more kindness to spread like its own pandemic. And the fourth question is this: why not now? Make the decision right now. Here's a math question. I know we've been talking about reading, but this is a math question. I always ask this to my students. 5 frogs are on a log. One decides to hop off. How many frogs are on the log now? A lot of kids will say 4. That is incorrect. The answer is 5. Choosing to hop off the log and actually hopping off the log are 2 different things. So I'm going to end with something I always implore my students as they walk out my classroom door. Remember this: education is valuable, but execution is priceless. Knowledge is not power. Only applied knowledge is power. Knowing what the right thing to do and actually doing the right thing are 2 different things. So choose to do the right thing and go out there and make a difference, all of you. Michelangelo once said, the greater danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but that it is too low and we reach it, you are going to achieve precisely what you think you're going to achieve. So why don't you set your sights high and be dazzled as you reach for the stars. Translation, read more, read better, love reading. Thank you for joining me, everybody, today. And make sure you go to freereadingtraining.com so you can get your complimentary copy of the book and those 2 digital trainings. I thank you all, and thanks for all that you do.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brissell, for that presentation. It was very informational and very energetic. I think we can all learn a lot about learning strategies from your presentation. The SBOC greatly appreciates you being here with us today, and we thank you for your support to our organization.
Thank you, Carly.
Now, let's take a look at this week's progress. Starting on October 10th, 2020, and going until today, October 17th, we've had over 90 participants register. Mostly have been individual spellers, and we've had some teams of spellers as well. Registrants have participated in our first ever Spell-a-thon, which is so exciting. We're so happy to have so many incredible spellers challenge themselves to learn, and we're so proud of everyone who participated this week. We are also almost halfway to our $2,500 goal and would love to reach that goal before our first Spell-a-thon ends tonight, October 17th at midnight. That means that there's still time for you to donate. You can donate through our GoFundMe charity page found in the comments section or on our website, spellingbeeofcanada.ca. Any and all contributions are helpful and greatly appreciated. These funds will go towards supporting a number of SBOC programs and initiatives, including our regional spelling bee competitions, which begin next weekend, our national championship spelling bee competition, which is on November 29th, our year-end gala, the annual talent show, our Buzz News program, our Unsung Hero nomination and short essay writing contests, a new website, our wonderful Yoga Bee program, and more. We have incredible volunteers who run these exciting initiatives throughout the year, and our goal is to keep everyone engaged in literacy and learning while having fun. Today we have a few spellers who would like to share their experience with the Spell-a-thon challenge. First, we have Umeza Raza, who is 6 years old.
Years old. I pledged to learn the spelling of 25 new words. I learned 22 so far, and I have 3 left for today. Most of my words came from this book, Gabriella the Snow Kingdom Fairy, and I read this every night. I would like to thank my parents and my grandparents for supporting me and sponsoring me. I would especially like to thank my mom for helping me read and helping me reach my goal. Thank you, Spelling Bee of Canada, for giving me the chance to learn and have fun. It was very exciting, and I hope I do it again in the future.
Thank you so much, Umeza. And we have one more message from one of our other students, Narasimhan.
Hello everyone, my name is Narasimhan and I've been attending the Spelling Bee of Canada for 7 years. Every year I learn many new words, but this year I got to learn even more words because of the Spell-a-thon. This year I pledged around 1,000 words and I learned around 800 and almost reached my goal. I learned words like bergère and kwashiorkor. Thank you to the Spelling Bee of Canada for hosting the Spell-a-thon.
Amazing. So we have some really incredible students who have shared their experience and who are doing a great job learning to spell new words. Next, overall, we have pledged over 1,000 words. Narasimhan pledged over 1,000 words. That's incredible. So the students are really talented and very smart, as you can see from some of the complex words they're challenging themselves with. Next up, we have Jacob Gaushen, who is 7 years old. He likes to play the piano, sing, draw, swim, and fencing. Jacob is one of our talent show participants and the primary category winner for music. He submitted a video of himself playing the piano, and today he is here to do just that for all of us. Welcome, Jacob, and thank you for joining us today. Okay, it looks like Jacob is having a couple technical difficulties, so for now we're going to go to one of our performers, Carol and Randy. Carol and Randy met through an a cappella group, and both continue to sing in vocal ensembles together. Today we have Carol with us live, and they will be presenting a mixture of their originals and some of their favorite songs. Please join me in welcoming Carol and Randy. Sorry everyone, we're just having a few technical difficulties. We'll get this up and running in just a moment.
Is raindrops falling on the rooftop. Oh, baby, tell me why'd you have to go? 'Cause this pain I feel won't go away. And today I'm officially missing you. I thought that from this heartache I could escape, but I find it long enough to know there ain't no way. And today I'm officially missing you. Ooh, can't nobody do it like you. Say every little thing you do. Hey baby, say it stays on my mind. And I'm officially missing. All I do is lay down, 2 ears full of tears from looking at your face on the wall. Just a week ago, you were my baby. Now I don't even know you at all. I don't know you at all. But I wish that you would call me right now, so that I could get through to you somehow. But I wish it's safe to say, baby, safe to say that I'm officially missing you. Ooh, can't nobody do it like you. Said every little thing you do. Hey baby, say it stays on my mind. And I'm officially missing you. Long roads home, sick of these nights we own. Can I just know what's at the end of the road? Every time that I close my eyes, I feel this need for your company. 'Cause I'm lost, I'm stranded in the desert sands. Can I get a holler from you? Being on my own is way too trying for the soul. Can it just be now and forever? Baby, is it too soon? I don't want this to go cold. Untied friends, time to make amends. No more room for digging in each other's skies. Can we move this forward? Can we make it last? So can I get a holler from you? Being on my own is way too trying for the soul. Can it just be now and forever? Baby, is it too soon? I don't want it to go cold. Don't you think it cool for real? Don't you think it hurts to feel all alone, never knowing what's real? So can I get a holler from you? Can I get a holler? Being on my own is way too trying for the soul. Can it just be now and forever? Can it just be now and forever? Baby, is it too soon? I don't want this to go cold. You make me feel better. You make me feel better. You make me feel better. You make me feel oh. No, that one's Jerry Seinfeld. That one's John Lennon. North Dakota. The San Remo is up a few blocks. Have you been inside the museum? We should go meet the dinosaurs. Kathy. Will you share your life with me for the next 10 minutes? For the next 10 minutes, we can handle that. We could watch the waves, we could watch the sky, or just sit and wait as the time ticks by. And if we make it to then, can I ask you again for another 10? And if you in turn agree to the next 10 minutes, and the next 10 minutes till the morning comes, then just holding you might compel me to asking for more. There are so many lives I want to share with you. I will never be complete until I do. I am not always on time. Please don't expect that from me. I will be late, but if you will just wait, I will make it eventually. Not like it's in my control, not like I'm proud of the fact, but anything other than being exactly on time I can do. I don't know why people run, I don't know why things fall through. I don't know how anybody survives in this life with someone like you. I could protect and preserve, I could say no and goodbye. But why, Jamie, why? I want to be your wife. I want to bear your child. I want to die knowing I had a love for life in your arms. What I can do forever, we share your life for the next 10 lifetimes, for a million summers, till the world explodes, till there's no one left who has ever known us apart. There are so many dreams I need to see. There are so many years I need to be with you. I will never be alone. I will never change the world until I do. I do. I do. I
That was so beautiful. Thank you, Carol and Randy. Next up, we have Kristen Smith. Kristen is a maritimer, currently ashore in Toronto. She is pursuing doctoral studies at York University, concentrating on the intersections of poetry and sound. In addition to her many academic publications, Kristen's creative work has appeared in Cantheus, Naugatuck River Review, and Sewer Lid magazine. She was selected as one of 6 poets internationally to participate in the Writing with Style program at the Banff Center. One of her poetry collection's Voices was awarded the Graham Atlantic Writing Prize. Her poem Here recently won 2nd place in NRR's Narrative Poetry Contest. As a teacher, tutor, and scholar, Kristen is interested in how art is created in community, connection, and collaboration. Please join me in welcoming Kristen.
Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to see your faces virtually. I'm pretending I can see them across all the distance. It's beautiful, beautiful day where I am. I'm currently in Toronto, and I hope that you're able to enjoy the sunshine wherever you are too. I'm going to start this slideshow, and hopefully you can see it. It's this beautiful picture of the mountains and water. I always get really calm when I get to be near water. It always makes me feel nice and safe. I'm wanting to just tell you a little bit about me. Carly told you all those amazing facts, but I also wanted to let you know a little secret that I competed in spelling bees when I was growing up too. And I have always, always loved reading. I do a lot of it for my research, but before I was doing research, I would absolutely love to go to the library and go to the children's corner. The library I used to always go to growing up was called the Mary Cheney Library. And I would sneak over to that corner and do tons of reading and take more books home. And I constantly went back and forth to the library. I hope that all of you have the opportunity to make use of our libraries. I know we're in interesting times right now. You can always get things online, and there are some that you can go to in person and get a book out of the library and enjoy it along the way. As Carly said, I do teaching and tutoring, and I'm currently working on an introductory course at university with students on English and literary studies. So that's what I'm doing as one of my main jobs. And so a lot of my research is in the way we read and look at information. It can sound really complicated, but I am not interested in what sounds complicated. I want to be looking at, in what I'm researching, how language is a coming together of sound and meaning. And by that, I mean, we always have things that are favorites. So if you could pick a favorite word that you have just because of what it means, and you can share it in the chat, a word that means something to you and is something special. For me, I would probably pick a word like joy. That means something to me in the way when I hear joy, it makes me feel something, and it makes me feel happier even just hearing it. But then there's also a difference in picking a word that you like for the sound of it. And so I was wondering if you could share a word that you like for the sound that it makes. There's a whole bunch of different words that make beautiful sounds. One of my favorites is bamboozle. That's a super fun word. Or umbrella. There are beautiful sounds that we can make when we're reading things. And so I encourage you, when you get the books that you're reading and you're taking them out of the library and taking them home, that you read them out loud. You have to actually have the opportunity of reading those words on the page. Now, a lot of my work that I do is with poetry. Some is more exciting than others. Some poems are more exciting than others. But there was one that I wanted to share just a piece of with you today. It's not part of my research, but I think it's super interesting. It's called The Chaos, and it's by Gerald Knowles Trinité. And I just am going to share part of it because it goes on for pages. But it shows the challenge that we have in reading English. Dearest creature in creation, studying English pronunciation, I will teach you in my verse. Sounds like corpse, core, horse, and worse. I will keep you Susie busy, make your head with heat grow dizzy. Tear in eye or dress your tail you'll tear. So shall I. Oh, hear my prayer. Just compare heart, beard, and herd, dyes and diet, lord and word. Now I surely will not plague you with such words as vague and ague. But be careful how you speak. Say break, stake, but bleak and streak, cloven and oven, how and low, script, receipt, shoe, poem, toe, scholar, vicar, and cigar, solar, mica, war, and far. Don't you think so? Rather saying lather, bather, father? Finally, which rhymes with enough? Though, through, plow, dough, or tough? Hiccup has the sound of cup. My advice is give it up. Now that's where I disagree. You don't give it up. You keep on trying. But we can see what the challenge is with an English language. Because at the heart of it, English, we want to be able to see a bit of language, that tiniest little element called a phoneme. We want to be able to sound it out. And the problem is that with English, it sounds differently in the context of different other words around it. So we have to constantly be learning things. And at the heart of that is exactly what you're doing, which is learning how to spell those words. Because without spelling and knowing how to do that, it makes reading and writing that much more complicated. And so we have to keep on working to learn those different words. And I think the Spell-a-thon is fantastic. Learn new words that you've never learned before. Learn how to spell them. Learn how to use them in a sentence. And we can keep on going back and back over those words. I wanted to share with you as one of the main parts of my little short chat with you today, one of my favorite poems, which is called Digging by Seamus Heaney. And Seamus Heaney is a fantastic poet, but what I wanted to share with you is the message of the poem as well as the words and the sounds that he makes on the page. So as we go through this poem, I'll read it and then we'll talk about some of the great things in it. Digging by Seamus Heaney. Between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests, snug as a gun. Under my window, a clean rasping sound when the spade sinks into gravelly ground. My father digging, I look down. Till his straining rump among the flower beds bends low, comes up 20 years away, stooping in rhythm through potato drills where he was digging. The coarse boot nestled on the lug, the shaft against the inside knee was levered firmly. He rooted out tall tops, buried the bright edge deep to scatter new potatoes that we picked, loving their cool hardness in our hands. By God, the old man could handle a spade, just like his old man. My grandfather cut more turf in a day than any other man on Toner's bog. Once I carried him milk in a bottle, corked sloppily with water. He straightened up to drink it, then fell right away, nicking and slicing neatly, heaving sods over his shoulder, going down and down for the good turf, digging. The cold smell of potato mold, the squelch and slap of soggy peat, the curt cuts of an edge through living roots awaken in my head. But I've no spade to follow men like them. Between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests. I'll dig with it. And I think this is such a gorgeous poem. I think we need to take the time to think about some of the sounds that we heard as we were working through that poem. I love the image of the pen resting in his fingers. That's what we start with, this image of a pen in someone's hand. And after that, he starts reflecting on all the work that he's ever seen his father do, and then even before that, his grandfather do. And he imagines all of that work and the time and the rhythm, and he mimics that in his poem. He takes us through that journey of digging in the ground and going through the rows. The poem itself keeps on growing in lines. And then he has this moment of aside saying, my dad could handle a spade just like his old man. And then he reflects on what his grandfather has done. And so he talks about all these amazing things. And he's reflecting on that great legacy that they've had. And after that reflection, you'd kind of think that he would say, well, we're like they are. But the point that he makes is he has the pen and he's going to dig with it because that's his tool and that's his instrument. And I think that that's what's so beautiful about the poem, is reminding us that that same passion that we have with our friends, our family, all of those passions that everyone has, they're all different. The instruments may be different, but that same passion is the same. And so we need to see what that is and grow in it. We need to learn how to spell. We need to learn how to read. We need to learn how to write. And all of those things help us grow in our knowledge and grow in our culture and connect really well with other people. We need to be able to communicate. We need to be able to have that opportunity to grow as individuals and be able to share our passions. Seamus Heaney does it through a poem where he shows us what it can look like as he's digging in the poem, which is super cool. And so maybe it doesn't look the same way where you're going to end up teaching English like I am. Maybe it's not going to look that same way for you. But I get super excited at the thought of you learning how to express yourselves by reading more, by learning how to spell, and by being able to communicate with one another and share your passion. And I hope everyone gets a chance to do that and participate in the Spell-a-thon and learn more words and share more words. And I look forward to hearing how it all goes. So I hope you have a great rest of your day as you enjoy the rest of the Spell-a-thon that's happening. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Kristen, for being here and for that wonderful presentation. So many of those poems and lines and images are so beautiful, and we're so grateful that you shared them with us today. Next up, we have Aaron Lamb. Aaron is an author and filmmaker from Oakville, whose books include The Fake Chicken Kung Fu Fighting Blues, Believing a Man Can Fly, and Composing Adventure, which is scheduled for release next year. Some of Aaron's other interests include reading about paleontology and cinema history. Please join me in welcoming Aaron Lamb.
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's having a good day today. It's my pleasure to be here with you. I'm so excited to be here. And as Carly mentioned, I've been very fortunate to have some of my books published. Ever since I was a kid, I just dreamed that one day I would be able to have one of my books published so that someone else could enjoy the work that I did. And today I'm going to be reading from my first book, and it's called, let's see if we can get this. There we go. The Fake Chicken Kung Fu Fighting Blues, which I know is quite a mouthful. It's got wonderful illustrations by Keen Sue. And I'll be reading some of this book in a little bit. It's published by Lorimer in Toronto. But first, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about my love of words and reading and writing. And I just wanted to share some of my thoughts about those, and hopefully you can take those words and my thoughts, and hopefully they'll get you thinking, and hopefully maybe even inspire you a little bit. But ever since I was a little kid, I just absolutely loved words. I love the way words look when they're written on a page. I love the way they sound. I love the way, even just in my head, how they sound when I repeat them in my head. And now anybody who knows me knows I'm obsessed with dinosaurs. My entire house is filled with dinosaurs. I am, in particular, I'm obsessed with Stegosaurus. They all have names. You know, there's Ethel and Roger and Egon. Love Egon. But anyway, when I was a young kid, I used to always take these dinosaur books out of the library, and I absolutely loved how these long dinosaur names looked on the page. And I'm talking about these really long names, that have like 15 letters in them. And I loved the dinosaur names that were really weird, that didn't even have like saurus in them. I loved names like Parasaurolophus and Monoclonius and Hypsilophodon. And probably my favorite is, let's see if you can see this. There we go. Ooh, got some glare. Quetzalcoatlus, which if anyone knows about dinosaurs, it's technically a pterosaur. It's a flying reptile. It's not technically a dinosaur, but close enough. You get the idea. So anyway, that was one of the first times I realized that words are really fun in many different forms, whether you're looking at it on the page or saying it out loud. And another early memory I had when I realized how cool and impactful words could be was reading comic books. I'm still a huge comic book fan. Honestly, I never grew up. This is literally on my night table. I'm kind of embarrassed, but this is so awesome. This is great. But I used to love comic books, and I realized that I absolutely love comic books that have a lot of action in them, superheroes fighting and monsters and all that stuff. And I love the way that quite often you would see in the background these huge letters splashing across the page, like whoosh. And immediately it appeals to your senses in a way that just the words and pictures alone cannot. So I love how words engage your senses, your senses. I'm sorry. And words are special for so many reasons. And by the way, you're going to notice today, I know nothing about technology, so I didn't even attempt to do slides. And I'm going to show you some of my absolutely stunning artwork. You're going to be blown away. But another reason words are so important is words are at the core of ideas. There we go. There's it took hours to draw this one. But ideas are important because ideas are at the core of creativity. Really, any sort of creativity. It all starts with an idea. And once you have an idea and you have words, you can think of interesting questions. Now, I love questions. And I think there's so many fun questions. I have some personal favorite questions I'm going to share with you. And I think some of the most fun questions are ones that don't even necessarily have a correct answer. I think questions are just fun because they get your mind going. You think about possibilities. One of my favorite questions: why does it always look like penguins are wearing tuxedos? There is no correct answer to that, obviously, other than the fact that, penguins just like to look good. But it just gets your mind going. One of my favorite questions is, want to see something cool? I love that question. It just gets your mind going. So I've always loved words. And then that love of words led to my love of reading. Now, I'm speaking to you today from Oakville, Ontario. And about 12 years ago, when I moved into this home, I was so excited because I discovered that just a 3-minute walk down the block is a branch of the public library. And to me, even to this day, that branch of the library is one of the most magical places in the world. And my daughter, Laura, who just turned 5, she loves that library too. For both of us, it's just a magical place to go there. And you might wonder, why is the library so important to me and to my daughter? Well, to me, what's the most exciting thing about a library or a bookstore is when you walk in and you see hundreds of books on the shelves. All you have to do is take one book off the shelf, open it up, and you can find yourself transported to the distant past, even maybe the time of the dinosaurs. You could find yourself transported into a future, like in a great science fiction novel, like one by Isaac Asimov, or sometimes you could find yourself transported to realms of the imagination that don't actually exist anywhere except for a writer or an artist's imagination. So I love it that you can just instantly be transported somewhere else. And that love of reading led to a love of writing. Now, one of my earliest memories when I started to jot down my ideas was I think I was about 7 or 8 years old. And for Christmas, I got this beautiful journal with Garfield the cat on the cover, and I just loved it. And I have it somewhere. It's probably in my basement somewhere. But I just started to write down my thoughts and ideas. Um, even my feelings, how I was feeling on a particular day, if I had any ideas for stories or poetry as well sometimes. Um, and I realized over the years, and I still do contribute to my journal, but what I realized, the great thing about writing is um, that you create a permanent record of your thoughts and ideas, and you can look back at them and see who you used to be, because we always sort of change who we are as we grow. Um, and I cannot tell you how many times I've had an amazing idea, or at least I thought it was amazing, an idea for a story or a poem or a song lyric or something. And I'm too busy doing something at the time. And I think to myself, I'll write it later. I'll write it down later. And sure enough, when it comes time to write it down, I cannot remember it. I've lost so many ideas that way. So just by keeping a journal or writing down your thoughts and ideas ensures that some of your great ideas are not lost. Um, and the other thing that I think is absolutely wonderful about writing things is, everybody has bad days. And sometimes if you're feeling, you know, sad or angry, that's supposed to be me. Um, looks kind of like me. Mm. But if you're feeling sad, angry, upset, everybody has bad days. If you write down what you're thinking and feeling, quite often it just makes you feel better. There's a therapeutic quality to writing. Just by putting your thoughts and feelings down on paper is a way to get those thoughts and feelings out of you. And it tends to sort of give you a sense of perspective and distance so you can look at the situation you're in, and quite often you feel better. So, those are just some thoughts as to why I love words, reading, and writing, and I just wanted to share them with you because I think words are and ideas that arise from words are just so important because they lead to creativity, and I think creativity just makes the world a better place. So I just wanted to share that with you. And as I mentioned before, I am going to be reading a little bit from the Fake Chicken Kung Fu Fighting Blues from Lorimer. Now, this is a junior novel for readers age 9 to 12. And this book is about a 12-year-old Chinese Canadian boy named Anthony Chung. And I don't know if any of you have ever been to Chinatown in Toronto, but it's one of my favorite places. I think it's amazing. As soon as you go to Chinatown, it's almost like you're stepping into a world of its own. Um, in fact, a lot of people who live in Chinatown, particularly the older generations, don't even speak English. They only speak Chinese. And this is the case with Anthony Chung's grandmother, who lives with Anthony and his family in Chinatown in Toronto. So in this book, Anthony has grown up and lived his entire life in Chinatown. He loves it. In fact, both him and his family have very little reason to ever go outside of Chinatown, because just within those few blocks of Chinatown, he goes to school, all his friends and family are there, everyone speaks both Chinese and English, and of course, the best Chinese food is there. And then one day, his mom and dad come home from work and they say, "We're going to have to move out of Chinatown." And Anthony is shocked. And sadly, the mom and dad have both lost their jobs. But they've both found new jobs in a small town way up north in northern Ontario called Berksburg. And in Berksburg, there are no other Chinese families. And absolutely everything in this town seems to revolve around hockey. Everyone in Berksburg is completely obsessed with hockey, and hockey happens to be something that neither Anthony nor his family knows anything about. So, just to give you a little idea of what this book is about, the Fake Chicken Kung Fu Fighting Blues is about the Chung family trying to adapt to life in this northern Ontario town where there are no other Chinese families, and about how they gain an appreciation for hockey as such an important aspect of the Canadian identity for so many Canadians. So I'm going to read a little bit, starting with chapter 5. To give you some context, he just Him and his family had just arrived at their new home the night before, and this is his first morning in Berksburg, and he decides to do some exploring. Here we go. Chapter 5, First Steps. When morning came, I bundled up and ventured into the great unknown. Not a lot of other houses shared our quiet road, which made me miss the excitement of Chinatown even more. I was surrounded by evergreen trees and rocks. Boring. A movement in the distance suddenly caught my attention. Something was in the field across the road. It was a deer. I'd never seen one with my own eyes before. The deer lifted its head. It became very alert, sensing something in the air. In the blink of an eye, it leaped off through the brush and beyond my sight. I hoped it didn't run away because of me. Then I realized why the deer had sped off. There was a coyote on the prowl. It limped in pursuit of the deer for only a few steps before giving up the chase. I saw that one of its front legs was missing. Running at high speed was no longer possible for the poor guy. The coyote turned to face me, then started trotting in my direction. Fascination quickly turned into fear. Oh, I was too young to be eaten by a wild animal. When I swung around to start running, I crashed headlong into someone. We both toppled into the snow with a loud thud. "Watch where you're going," shouted an angry voice as we stumbled to our feet and brushed ourselves off. The voice was from a red-headed boy. He was about my age, only a lot taller, a lot broader, and a lot angrier. He picked up the hockey stick and puck that he'd dropped. Beside him was a cute girl. She was my age too, with reddish blonde hair and amazing dark eyes. "I'm really sorry," I said, still half dazed. I was running." "Running? Running from what?" asked the boy, whose anger was quickly cooling. "That," I replied, pointing in the direction of the charging coyote. They looked confused, probably because the coyote was nowhere to be seen. "Are you okay?" asked the girl. "Yeah, but there was a coyote coming this way. It had only 3 legs, but it looked really hungry." She laughed. "Oh, you saw Clark." "Clark? Let's go," said the boy. "This kid doesn't even know who Clark is. Everybody knows Clark." I'm new here," I replied. That coyote has a name?" The big guy turned. He headed down the road without even a glance back. "You can stay and chat if you want," he said to the girl, "but I'm going." "Charming, isn't he?" she said to me. "See you later." Then she was gone too. So I continued my mission of exploration. I could tell that I'd arrived downtown when I reached the only set of traffic lights in Berksburg. Small shops and restaurants lined Main Street, but nothing was open. One diner had a poster in its window advertising the best submarine sandwich for 100 miles. Probably the only submarine sandwich for 100 miles, I thought. Maybe my standards for fast food would have to be adjusted. As I made my way alongside the river that ran through town, I heard the distant sounds of slashing hockey sticks and skates scraping on ice. The commotion grew louder as I approached a steep hill along the riverbank. When I reached the top of the rise, I saw 3 large ponds, each one crowded with people playing shinny. I could never understand the appeal of shinny, or pond hockey, as it's known outside of Canada. Nobody in my family was ever interested in the game. Maybe it was because we never saw Chinese hockey players on TV. "Dude, can you throw us the puck?" It took me a second to realize that the voice was speaking to me. "Dude, the puck!" I saw that a puck had landed in the snow just a few paces from me on the hill. When I stepped forward to retrieve it, I found myself slipping on an icy patch. I tumbled down the hill like a bowling ball. My body finally came to rest at the edge of the pond when I hit a snowbank face first. Several kids came running over to the accident scene. "Are you okay?" I cleared the snow from my eyes. I saw through a fluffy white mask that the voice had come from the same girl I'd met earlier with the amazing dark eyes. I started brushing snow off various body parts, and when it was clear I wasn't seriously hurt, several people burst into laughter at my clumsiness. At least the girl didn't laugh. She just smiled. Hopefully it was warmth she was trying to show, and not pity. Well, well, well. That voice was familiar too. I winced when I saw that it came from the red-headed boy I tackled earlier. If it isn't the boy who always falls. My immediate reaction was an overwhelming desire to sling some snow into his face, but I valued my life too much to follow through. He was quite a bit bigger than me. So, where's my puck? He asked. Unlike the others, he was obviously not concerned about my well-being, even after seeing my death-defying tumble off a cliff. He caught it while he was rolling, said the girl. It was an impressive move. I was shocked to see the puck clutched in my right hand. Maybe I had a future as a goalie. Without saying a word, I tossed the puck to Big Red. He plucked it from the air and went back to his game with the rest of his gang. Only the girl stayed to help me up from the snow. Don't mind him, he said. He's got a one-track mind. Can't think of anything except for hockey. I'm Lise Laurier, by the way. I shook her hand cautiously, still a bit surprised by her friendliness, and at how pretty her eyes were. Hi, I sputtered. My name's Anthony. Oh, do you like hockey too? She asked. It was amazing how you caught that puck as you rolled down the hill. You grabbed it from the air in the middle of your ninja flip. Well, she was putting quite a positive spin on things. I wasn't going to argue with her. That's what I was going for. Lise, came that annoying boy's voice again. Can you throw us the puck? This time the stupid thing had become lodged in a snowbank. Lise quickly retrieved it so the game could continue. Your boyfriend's quite the gentleman, I said. She looked confused. My boyfriend? Yeah, the hockey-playing hunk over there. She just smiled and shook her head. That's not my boyfriend. That's my brother Marty. We're twins. I was more than a little happy to hear that he wasn't her boyfriend. Maybe there was some justice in the world after all. Twins, eh? At least you aren't as ugly as he is. Lise didn't laugh at my joke. I wasn't sure if I'd offended her. Feeling like a dork, I knew I had to get out of there quickly. Bye, was all I could manage before I dashed off. Okay, and I'm just going to read a little bit here from a chapter. It's called Praying Mantis Kung Fu. The first day of school. I always hated those dreaded words. It always meant one thing. Freedom had come to an end. I was a nervous wreck as I approached the schoolyard. I took a deep breath and tried to look confident. Keep your chin up and never let them see you sweat, I muttered into the video journal I kept on my phone. And stop talking to yourself out loud. People are giving you weird looks. Berksburg Central was a lot bigger than my old school in Chinatown. The schoolyard alone was huge, with its football field, baseball diamond, and running track. My old school didn't have any grass at all, and the schoolyard was just a patch of concrete. I was still getting weird looks from everyone, and I wasn't even talking to myself anymore. It was clear that I was the new kid in town. I stuck out like a sore thumb. Then I heard a familiar voice coming from behind me. I turned around to see Lise chatting with a couple of her friends. She hadn't noticed me yet. I was just about to say hi when I felt a strong hand clamp down on my shoulder. Well, 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 said the only familiar voice in Berksburg that wasn't from my family. If it ain't the human snowball himself. I turned around slowly to face Marty. He had an icy grin that terrified me. Good morning, I squeaked. Beautiful day, huh? Marty tightened his grip on my shoulder, and it started to hurt. Why are you so interested in my sister? He asked. His grin was suddenly gone. Leave him alone, Marty, I heard Lise say from behind me. I'm not bothering him, he replied. I just wanted to ask him a question, because nobody talks to my sister without going through me first. I don't need a bodyguard, she said. I was glad her frown wasn't directed at me. The big guy tightened his grasp even more, making me wince. He leaned in closer and looked directly into my soul with his steely eyes. That's my twin sister, and it's my job to look after her. You got that? Then a large and meaty hand, even larger and meatier than Marty's, landed on his shoulder with a thud. Marty released his grip on me. He spun around to see who had interrupted our little conversation. A monstrous kid, a few heads taller than Marty and a whole lot heavier, towered over all of us. With a long mop of greasy hair framing a rough and tumble face, the giant did not look happy at all. He was munching loudly on handfuls of potato chips he was scooping from a jumbo bag. "Hi, Buck," said Marty. He sounded about as scared and wimpy as I had just moments before. It was weird to hear Marty's voice quivering. "I forgot my lunch," said Buck in a voice that was inhumanly deep. "That means I've got to buy lunch today. But I forgot my lunch money too. Give me all your money and I'll let you go without a knuckle sandwich. Understand?" Lise had her fists balled up tightly. She looked ready to jump in and protect her brother. Maybe it was my protective instinct, or maybe it was my deep hatred of bullies, but I had to do something. "Let him go, big buck," I blurted. I was surprised at the amount of authority in my squeaky voice. Buck released his hold on Marty and grabbed me by the collar. "Did you just call me big buck, little fella?" he asked. His face was turning impressively red. "Nobody calls me that. Now you'll pay the price, too." Marty was so shocked at the turn of events that he seemed paralyzed. I guess I wasn't going to get any help from him. "Not so fast, bonehead," I shouted, doing my best impersonation of an action hero. "Leave us alone, or you'll have to face the fury of the Chinese praying mantis." Lise and Marty stared at me in confusion. They clearly wondered what strategy I was using to, hopefully, prevent my doom. To be honest, I wasn't completely sure myself. Buck didn't seem very frightened by my threat. "Praying mantis, huh? I suppose you're going to tell me you know karate or something like that." "Not karate," I said. I tried to lower the tone of my voice to sound cooler. "Karate is kids' play. I'm talking about praying mantis style kung fu, the deadliest in the world." The bully didn't seem that impressed. "Really? And I suppose a little runt like you is going to give me a demonstration of this deadly kung fu." He called my bluff. I didn't know kung fu in the slightest. But not wanting to reveal any weakness, I started moving my arms and legs in the slow, rhythmic motions of Tai Chi. This came naturally thanks to regular lessons from Grandma. "Is that supposed to scare me?" Buck was barely able to suppress his laughter. "My Tai Chi moves couldn't scare a kitten. I needed to do something dramatic, so I kicked into the air and yelled like a crazy man. Yeah! One of my boots flew off my foot. It shot straight into Buck's nose. Down he went. Everyone was too shocked to do or say anything, Buck included. After a few moments of groaning in the snow, Buck stumbled to his feet and struggled to regain his breath. "All right, you win. Just stay away from me with that praying mantis kung fu stuff." Then he hurried off, wanting nothing more to do with us. "Wow," was all I could muster. "Wow," said Lise and Marty in unison. It was only when my socked foot started feeling numb from the cold that I snapped back to reality. I recovered my boot and shook out all the snow. As I was lacing up, another hand clamped down on my shoulder. Now what? I spun around and came face to face with Marty. To my surprise, he had a warm smile that actually made him look friendly. "Oh, thanks for saving my butt," he said. This time, his voice was gentle. I hardly recognized it. Buck is the biggest bully in town, and he usually gets whatever he wants. "What's your name again?" "Anthony," I replied. "It's nice to meet you." So I'll leave it at that. I hope you enjoyed hearing from the Fake Chicken Kung Fu Fighting Blues. And I'd like to thank everyone at Spelling Bee of Canada. It's been a pleasure being with you, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the day. So thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Aaron. That was great. I think I might have to get a copy of your book and read it because it sounds really awesome. Next up, we have one of our past talent show winners, Jacob. Jacob is 7 years old, and he played the piano for us at the talent show. Today, he's going to be doing just that. Go ahead when you're ready, Jacob. Thank you so much, Jacob. That was beautiful. You're so talented. Next up, we are going to take a moment and say thank you to Generational Wealth and Tomlin Hibbert, one of our incredible donors. Generational Wealth is an investment company that helps individuals and businesses grow their wealth through long-term investing. They offer flexibility and creativity and are able to customize solutions to suit their clients' needs. Thank you, Generational Wealth, for your support. Now we have a wonderful performer, Billy. Billy the Kid is a Kaitaya Dene and Nihaya spoken word poet and storyteller. Originally from Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, she currently resides in Kingston, Ontario, the traditional home of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples. Drawing inspiration from poets such as Ian Ketaku, Janice Jolie, and Billy Ray Belcourt, her poetry breathes life into narratives as she explores relationships with family, friends, food, and the dynamic nature of dreams. Please join me in welcoming Billy the Kid.
The sacred McDonald's French fry. I present it to the sky. It droops, lukewarm and ocean salty. You know that scene in Mary Poppins? There's an old lady surrounded by pigeons singing, "Feed the birds, tuppence a bag." Well, I am summoning Biscay, the seagull, with small fries, $1.39 a bag. Mucho, Becca, Tacheon. 3 Dene medicine men, renowned healers. Each had seagull medicine powers. Tacheon said he became a giant, so tall that as he grew, the second protective layer of the earth washed his face. There is where all the animal spirits live. Each one offered Tacheon their powers. Each said, "Take mine. Mine is the best." Biscay said, "Tacheon, I can reach inside the body and remove what infects it. The best power is mine, mine, mine. Mind you, at 5'4", I'm just a small fry with some small fries, and I pray Biscay comes to me. Because Becca said seagull's stomach has a juice that kills all harmful germs. This is why Biscay eats almost anything and why Becca's tea was the boss of cures. Today, I watched a video of a rabbit, whole and dead inside a seagull swallow. In Italy last week, they remembered exactly how wide a seagull can open its throat. No tourists to drop the heavenly fry. Biscay hunts rats, other birds. How different is a pigeon from a chicken nugget? It's like Mucho said. Biscay never goes hungry. He will always find food. So here I am, dawning dawns, and it dawns on me. Biscay will come, but we'll lock eyes. He'll say his spirit is weaker than it was. He'll say, "I'm sorry, can't help you now. I would have retched the Spanish influenza from the belly of Dene Nation if I could, but that's how long it's been since you and I could talk." Then, as he takes the fry, he'll poop on my shoulder. Say, "Good luck, kid." Tanse, hello, welcome, Siti Billy Sulyi. My name is Billy, also known as Billy the Kid. I'm coming to you from Kingston, Ontario, the traditional home of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe people. I'm grateful to be here on this land and also grateful to be here with you today in this lovely virtual space. I've got a few more poems left for you. I think one thing I like touching on in my poems is stories. I think poetry for me has been a really great way to express different characters or just even make up stories or tell traditional stories like the one that I just told about, the seagull. So that's something that I kind of like to do because in Dene law, storytelling, passing on the stories is part of the law. So by doing that little poem, I get to like uphold my traditions and also, you know, say funny stuff about McDonald's French fries. Okay, so this next poem that I have for you, I put it in my book. It's called Caress Me If I'm Wrong. But I think another thing that's important to remember about writing poetry is that it can be really fun. And sometimes you can just like make up nonsense and then just write and be like, I don't know if this makes sense, but I'm going to do it anyways. And then sometimes you look back later and then you're like, oh, I have a poem. So this is exactly what happened with this next poem. It's called, This is My First Summer Living Alone, and I Swear I'm Doing Just Fine. Is there an elephant in the fridge? I think there might be, because the eggs have been missing 3 weeks since yesterday. Elephants must like eggs. I'm sure it's true. Okay, if I'm being honest, there weren't any eggs in the fridge in the first place. Just milk, 7-Up, and green cabbage slaw from KFC. I swear there'll be fresh groceries in the fridge by Tuesday night. Eggs and everything. The elephant issue is still present regardless. Please send help. Got any elephant juice? You know, 3rd graders like to use it as chapstick. They bomb their lips with the elephant juice to cover the other phrase that they think is funny. It is. The 3rd graders must have elephants in their fridges too. Is that frightening? Maybe. What are the elephants thinking? I'm unsure. Same, says the elephant in my fridge. I investigate the fridge. After this exchange, the elephant and I are friends. I tell it to keep the juice. Save it for later. It's a hot commodity in the 3rd grade market and capitalism is really hitting us young these days. The elephant replies, I'm aware. There is a silence. I shut the fridge. Okay, so let's see. So as you see, I have a little performer named Billy the Kid. It's something I kind of made up for the fun of it. And I remember being in high school and my friends were like, but what is going to happen when you're not a kid anymore? And I'm like, well, I'll always like to be a kid, at least somewhere. But in any case, this poem is one that I wrote while I was in high school, legitimately. Billy the Kid. And again, a story that involves some characters. I've recently been reading The Marrow Thieves, actually, and it talks about dreams and whatnot. So if you haven't read The Marrow Thieves, highly recommend it. But if not, this one kind of harkens to like similar subjects. Anyway, so the kids believe Sandman slipped on the suburbs in the night. A freak accident. Now, we're still trying to figure out what happened because evidence is scarce, and the only reason we ruled out homicide is because the ones who never sleep were afraid of the mutiny. The event itself took 4 weeks to diagnose. We hypothesized that it all started when we stopped dreaming, when show and tell became watch and learn, when watch and learn became mindless. But no one really noticed and no one really minded because everything wasn't just, sort of, kind of, it was perfect. Capital P, dot after the T, sans serif, perfect. Memorize the method perfect. The ultimate objective was to objectify the ultimate goal. Now, things never really became a problem until a few weeks later. Backwards P, I instead of the E, a capital mess problem. See, my next door neighbor, Donnie, had been having nightmares. Now, Donnie was always one of those problem kids. The kind who would climb trees and jump fences. The kind who always managed to just crawl by. Thing is, when Donnie started telling us about his nightmares, none of us could one-up his stories, and that's when we began to ponder our predicament, and that's when the ones who never sleep started to get scared. My fellow followers of the objective, he would say, when was the last time you slept? Do you remember what it was that you last dreamt when? Was the last time you remember dreaming anything at all? He continued in time to captivate us with his claims. He spun webs around us with his words while we gathered around him, eager to watch and learn. Dear comrades, he said, the stars have all been fading. I can't even see Orion's belt, and all the girls have been searching for that thing they've never felt. Our days are getting shorter, but nights don't get past violet, and the cold electric buzzing is the closest it gets to quiet. Can't you see? Something's missing. We've all gone bonkers in our head. Do you think that someone's been slipping poison in their sheets of all our beds? There must be justice. There's been a crime set upon us like a blanket. You can see it by the way our parents stroll blindly into banks, and it's been ordered. We're all ordered from our disorder. But what everyone seems to forget is that entropy is imminent. What's worse is that they forget that entropy is not the enemy, and neither is perfect. No, it wasn't a revolution, but Donnie's speeches caused a stirring that was impossible to stop. It was all of our minds worrying and worrying. It was surely the beginning of our soon-to-be deemed invalid investigation. But Donnie disappeared by the time his movement reached day 3. Maybe it was ordered by the ones who never sleep. We don't know for sure. But what we do know is that, like a mocking honor on our morning last Friday this December, instead of "In loving memory, dear Donnie," the headlines compressed read, "The kids believe Sandman slipped on the suburbs in the night. A freak accident." Okay, thank you. So I've got one last poem for you here today. Before I start this poem, I guess this poem is exactly a year old now. Happy birthday to this poem. But a little bit of background from me. I personally come from Yellowknife, which is Treaty 11 territory. I myself am a Treaty 8 kind of native. As Carly said, I'm Keitele Dene and Nehia. And my mother is Fina. She's Keitele Dene and Nehia, where my father is a settler of Irish and French descent. My father's name is Billy, and this is an important fact for this next poem. My dad has a way of telling stories so that they just like kind of come up casually when I'm like, I don't know if that's a casual story, Papa. But in any case, this next poem, the structure of it was inspired by a game I learned at recess in grade 6. I first moved to Ontario and learned this game, thought it was the most aggravating thing. So the title of this poem is Joni, Johnny, Joni, Johnny, whoops, Johnny, whoops, Johnny, 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 Johnny. And the whole thing at recess is that apparently, you do the finger thing and there's a little trick to it. I'm not going to make you figure out what the trick to this poem is. You're just going to have to listen really careful. I'm going to say this. Joni, Johnny, Joni, Johnny, whoops, Johnny, 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 Johnny. I'm going to say it one last time. Nice and slow. Joni. I meet Joni in my father's oldest photo album. Joni balances on the base of Cameron Falls in February. Her glasses whisper 80s. And Joni is grinning at my father through the camera lens. Johnny. So my father texts me at work and has the nerve to ask if he's ever mentioned that I have a brother. He says, Johnny is 30, lives in Vancouver, and his mother was a granola head with a goofy smile. Joni. My father sends me a selfie Johnny sent him. Johnny has my father's eyes, and they crinkle above the bridge of Joni's nose. Johnny's beard wraps around their features on his face, holds them together, and I think it might smell like oysters. I catch my reflection in the phone screen. See my flat nose, my mother's eyes. Johnny. Standard icebreaker. Any siblings? I pause. For what I now realize is too long. I say that Johnny said he'd call me, but hasn't. And until he does, I will call him nothing other than Johnny Whoops. I'm definitely not stalking him on Instagram. Johnny Whoops, I definitely did not just accidentally like one of his videos. Johnny, and I talk for what must be an hour, maybe more. Johnny's voice is higher than I was expecting. Haley says it's like my voice, but cracked. So Johnny asks me about my mom. I say Vina. About my dad, we say Billy because that's also technically his dad. And then Johnny asks me how I love. He says he asked Joni the same thing when they met 3 years ago, and they've been close friends ever since. Johnny says he loves like Joni. Fast and full, a romantic. I tell Johnny I love too quickly. I mean, I too love quickly. Cite how Vina loves. how Billy loves, how they met in a bar and flirted over a high-stakes game of pool. I tell Johnny that I'm a poet and that I like the details. I love the details. I tell him that I make playlists for the people I love because Billy made me playlists on tape decks when I was 6, and I'd let Vicky Carr and Jimi Hendrix sing me to sleep. And it looks like he's watching me when I say these things. Okay, it's a video call, so of course he's watching me, but like he's really watching me. With all of his stare and half smile swallowed into something like wonder or relief, and I think maybe I've got him. Like, you know when a first date goes really well and you think, we've got number 2 in the bag and neither of you can wait because you know that by some miracle, some magic, whatever you did worked, and I think I might have a brother. I think that Johnny could be my brother. Masicho, everyone. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Billy. Those poems are incredible, and you're such a wonderful performer. We really appreciate you joining us here today.
Thank you.
Next up, we're going to hear some songs from Mimika. Mimika is a singer-songwriter from the GTA who draws attention through her smart and honest lyrics and captivating live performances. As she gears up for her newest project, the My Feelings Hurt mixtape, which is available Friday, she joins us to give us an exclusive first listen. Please join me in welcoming Mimika.
Hi everyone, my name is Mimika. I'm an artist from Toronto, and I'm so excited to be here with Spelling Bee of Canada and all of you today. I'm coming to you from my home studio in my vocal booth because I'm doing my best to social distance and be responsible, and I hope all of you guys are as well. I also have TikTok lights in here, so that's the main reason why I chose this room, because they make me feel cool. I've got a couple songs prepared for you guys today. The first one is one of my favorite songs to cover. It's Don't by Ed Sheeran. Here we go. Yeah. Oh my gosh, my hair. I met this girl late last year. She said, don't you worry, disappear. Told her I'm not really looking for another mistake. Called my friend, then I joke away. Then I joke right a week later, returned her back, and she was only looking for a lovely burn. I gave her my time, it took her 3 nights, and I put it on pause till the moment was right. Went away for my son till I passed across again. She told me I was never looking for a friend. Maybe you could swing by my room around 10. Baby, bring the lemon and the bottle and gin. We'll be in between the sheets till 8 a.m. Baby, if you wanted me, then you should've just said you singing. Don't with my love, that heart is so cold. All over my own. I don't wanna know that, babe. Don't with my love. I told her she knows. Take aim and reload. I don't wanna know that, babe. Oh, a couple weeks, I only wanna see how we can go every day. So I take away the answer before I text message was the only way to reach her. Now she's staying in my place, that's the way I treat her. Singing out a rhythm, all over the track like a feature. Never wants to sleep, I guess I don't want to hate her. But me and her, we make money the same way. Both cities, 2 planes the same day. Emotions have never been what it's about, but maybe we'll go together and just figure it out. I'd rather put on my thumb, you might sit on the couch, but we should get on a plane and we'll be missing it now. Wish I'd have written it down the way things played out. She was missing them how I was confused about, but she should figure it out when I'm sat here singing. So with my love, that heart is so cold. I don't know for my own. I don't wanna know that, babe. So with my love, I told her she mind and thought you were different. This is not the way you realize what you wanted it to be. Too much too late if I'm honest. And God knows I'm saying, oh, my love, that heart is so cold. I'll over my love. I don't wanna know that, baby. So with my love, I told her she knows. Take a even reload. I don't wanna know that, baby. So with my love, that heart is so cold. I'll over my love. I don't wanna know that, baby. So with my love, I told her she knows. Take a even reload. I don't wanna know that. Yeah. So that was Don't. The next song that I have for you guys is from a project that I released earlier this year from my new micro mixtape series. The mixtape is called Goddess Complex, and the song I'm going to sing for you from it is called Gospel. There's also a music video out if you want to go watch that, and you can listen to the song everywhere that you listen to music. All right, here we go. Get some water. Diamonds and baby champagne. Drop me in some baby gold to match the pain. I don't even have my own attention. I don't even know which promise to mention. Pray for ease as it brings me to my knees. Pray for fame, pray for love, but in the end nobody. Is this my gospel? Am I reaching far behind? Is this my gospel? I fear I'm running out of time. If this the song, and noise complaints and brings, keep this gospel away from me. Is this my gospel? Antiquities and vintage royalty. Make me a crown and adorn it with your teeth. I don't even have my own location. I don't even know which path to money, pray for ease as it brings me to my knees. Pray for fame, pray for love, in the end nobody knows. Is this my gospel? Am I reaching far behind? Is this my gospel? I fear I'm running out of time. If it's our soul, in nights go plays and rings, and keep this gospel away from me. This is my gospel. This is my gospel. Nice complaints it brings, keep this gospel away from me. Yeah, so that song, like I said, you can listen to it everywhere now. I wrote that song in 2018, and I worked on it with a bunch of friends in Quebec. And then it came out May of 2020. The next song that I have for you, also sorry, I am like adjusting things on my laptop because that's where music's coming from. The next song that I'm playing for you is from my most recent release. It's actually not even out yet. It's coming out next Friday, October 23rd. And this is the like sneak peek of it. First time singing it live. It's from the newest mixtape called My Feelings Hurt. There's 2 songs on it, Bourbon and Feel Again. And Feel Again is the song that I'm going to be singing for you right now.
You can pre-save it on Spotify and Apple Music, and then it'll get automatically added to your library next Friday. Here we go.
Been so exhausted, been so sore, never felt so weak, and I've been like you before. I usually turn it to anger, I usually kill my own, but this one is so different. It's in the knees, I don't sleep, I can't speak, it's just me, I know. They ask me, why do you keep yourself from everyone? 'Cause it hurts real bad, why would I want that? I'd rather never feel it all. If I never feel again, would that be so bad? Would that be so bad? If I never feel again, think I could live with that. Think I could live without it. I don't wanna feel. Bet you wouldn't even notice, could you even tell? Turn everything off, you tell yourself I hide it well. Anywhere that I go, can't check my bags at the door, 'cause if I did, you can't unpack that. It goes too far back, smile for no reason, but my heart is barely beating. You can try and get me real, and I won't. And they all ask me, why do you keep yourself from everyone? 'Cause it hurts real bad, why would I want that? I'd rather never feel it all. If I never feel again, would that be so bad? Would that be so bad? If I never feel again, think I could live with that. Think I could live without it. I don't wanna feel. If I never feel again, would that be so bad? Would that be so bad? If I never feel again, I would live with that. I don't wanna feel. I don't wanna feel. Don't wanna feel. Don't make me feel again.
So, like I said, that song is coming out next Friday, October 23rd, and you can pre-save now. Which brings me to my last song of my set. It's been awesome hanging with you all. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Spelling Bee of Canada, for having me. I'm going to finish with a cover, and I'm almost 100% positive that all of you will know this song. I'm going to do like a stripped down piano version of it. This is Rain on Me by Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande.
I didn't ask for a free ride. I only asked you to show me a real good time. I never asked for the rainfall. At least I showed up, you showed me nothing at all. It's coming down on me. What I like misery. It's coming down on me. on me. I hear the thunder coming down, won't you rain on me? Rain on me.
Thank you guys so much for listening again. I'm Mimika. You can follow me on social media at mimika.k. And I hope you guys have an awesome day and an awesome weekend. That was beautiful, Mimika. Thank you so much for showing us one of your new songs and for singing for us here today. We would like to take the time to thank all of our sponsors, donors, spellers, parents, and contributors for their incredible support and contributions to this event and to the Spelling Bee of Canada. We couldn't have done it without all of you. To all of our spellers who pledged to learn new words in a time crunch challenge and who helped us raise funds for our Spelling Bee of Canada programs, thank you. To all of our spellers who to all of our parents who support their children's education and literacy and help them practice and learn new words, as well as who help our students submit incredible videos for the talent show and Spell-a-thon, thank you. To all of our donors and sponsors who contribute not only to the Spell-a-thon, but also to the organization throughout the year, thank you for your support. We cannot do what we do without the support from all of you. We'd also like to say a special thank you to Laureen, who donated $400 to this event. She says, I believe it is important that we support organizations that support literacy in youth. It is important for them to be engaged and reading. Thank you, Laureen. To everyone who is here with us today, helping to make our first ever Spell-a-thon a success, a huge thank you for your time and contributions to our organization. We hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday and the rest of your weekend. Thank you, everyone, for being here.